So I'm going to tell you about five stories compressed into one with a little bit of a motivational speech interlaced into this because, man, I'm telling you what, you are looking at one very special car. Special to me, not special to, they're special. Don't get me wrong, but to me, you're going to understand why this car is the culmination of everything in my life. This is one of the most special things that I have ever purchased. Sad that it's not the color of the original, but I'm going to explain to you why. And I'm going to explain how it applies to your life and where you are currently right now, because most of you are effectively kind of where I was when I started my journey with Prowler number one. So I want to really, really dig down deep and explain this because, this is a crypto group, but I've taken it very seriously over the years as I've taught real estate and stuff to make sure that I never put anybody out in, wealth can do some very scary things to you. And so every once in a while, I'm going to tell these stories. I'm going to interlace them with a little bit of knowledge and experience. And, not to say how great a guy I am or anything like that, just practical application. That's what I'm showing you here. Okay, so our journey begins way back. Way back. Let's go. Let's hop in the way back machine here and go back to the year 2000. This is yours truly, sexy as hell. I'm 20, I'm in my mid 30s. Chase is about 2 years old. This is a 2000 Mulholland Prowler. This is one of the rarest, they're all collectible, but this one is like, if you can find one of these in cherry condition, buy it and don't bicker about the price. Just buy it. I bought and paid this $64,000 is what I paid. $64,836 tax, title, and license is what I paid for this. And way over sticker, but that's what people were doing. You couldn't buy one of these things retail. And so these things are so rare, they wouldn't even let me test drive it. You can sit in it, but you're not driving it until you own it. That's how serious they are about these things. Like they know a buyer will come along. You don't need to put no miles on a car. They're not horses. They don't need exercise. That's basically the attitude they had with me. So I want to tell you why this car is so special to me. There's a tremendous sentimental value to this car for a multitude of things. It's a nice car, car guys like their cars, but for me this is just so much more. Because what you're looking at here is the very first photo that was ever taken of this, because I literally just left the dealership. I took it over to my mom and dad's house. This is in the parking lot of my mom and dad's house, and my mom is taking this picture of me. And just for the hell of it, as an aside, I still have that suit and I still fit in it. I think I might put that suit on. I might go over to my mom and dad's house, talk to the people living in the house, and ask them if they do me a little favor. And I'm going to recreate this with my new car. And you're going to understand why it's so special. And you're going to understand why this photo is the start of everything. Okay, so one of the first things that I want to impart to you here, we'll get to the funny story here later on. One of the first things I want to impart to you is the dealing with material possessions. I think that material possessions are we're material people. We live in a material world. We got to have shit, and there's nothing wrong with aspiring to have nice things. I remember Adam, my youngest. He goes, "I want to have nice things," and there's nothing wrong with it. It's the people who don't have nice things that want to make you feel guilty because they don't want you showing your good shit to them because it makes them feel bad. You know, you always hear this. It's easier for whatever, for an eye of a needle, rich man to get into the kingdom of heaven. Horse shit, horse shit. Somebody's gonna own this car. It might as well be me. I can do nicer things with it. I can appreciate it more. I can be just as charitable owning this car. Don't ever let anyone tell you or make you feel bad about owning nice stuff and being successful. It's absolutely sick. And what we've seen over the last couple of decades is just the wanton disregard for success. You should be success. You're wired for success, and to deny that and to deny the spoils of your success is to deny the pleasure of being successful. It begets more success. Trust me, I know. Many of you who know me personally and have spent time around me, you know I don't make it look hard because it's not. It's not hard. Once you get successful, it gets easier. I'm not saying it doesn't have its hard days, but when you're eking it out with make money and stuff like that, it sucks. I've done it. I've done it, but I pulled myself up out of it many times. And so if I'm able to do it many times and learn from it, you can do it too. So I tell you these stories not to show you how great that I am or how charitable I am or what an awesome car collection. None of that has anything to do with the stories I tell. I just use them as instructive tools. But when I see some of you guys, there's a few things I want to kind of comment on here before we kind of get to the bulk of the story. And this is going to be kind of a long video, nothing to do with crypto. Uh, as I hear a lot of you guys say, man, I want to get successful so that I can do this and I can do great things in the world. Well, start today, man. Start today. You don't need the wealth is that's just another way. That's laziness. That's lazy charity. I've heard this for so long, and I'm not just slamming any of you guys that think like that, but that's the way a lot of people think. Is they come at this from a scarcity mentality, and I'm going to illustrate this in today's story. How that could be done. It was free. It cost money, but what I did was free, and I'm going to illustrate exactly what I'm talking about. Just slowing down for a minute to think how differently you can do things changes the game tremendously, and I'll get to that point here in just a second. But this car is tremendously important because it is the start of the very first thing that I allowed myself to get. So I had my first real adult big boy business was a company called Raw Power Laboratories, manufactured car audio equipment. That's when you used to hear this at every street corner. That's the sound of money to me. I used to manufacture car audio subwoofers, and business was booming, literally. So I sold out the company to a company called MTX. They still exist. I was given several $1 million. I invested in real estate and got bigger, bigger, bigger. And I've told you all those stories and stuff like that. So we don't need to revisit that stuff right now. But so during that time, I, you know, I've always wanted to be successful. I'm just wired differently. I like entrepreneurialism. I get it apparently through my mom's side of the family. And so I like it. And so with that, I've never had a problem having nice things. I always had nice toys. I bought my own toys. I had all the Star Wars stuff, paid for it with my own money, painted apartments with my dad and stuff like that, bought it with my own damn money. I'm not ashamed or afraid to buy anything nice because I've always done that stuff with my own money. So I wasn't pre-shamed by society for this is normal to me. And this is where I talk to you guys about a financial thermostat. I have been wired from a very, very early age to accept nice things as just a byproduct of how life is lived. It's a tremendous function shift. And I understand it. I mean, for me just to go, well, just buy nice things, it'll be okay, you'll be fine. I realize there's a tremendous amount of acceptance that goes into that. And some of you guys have never had anything nice. And the minute you get something nice, you're worried about, oh my God, what happens if my nice thing gets ruined? Then I won't have a nice thing. And then, or what happens if the cost of ownership, or all the bullshit things that enter your mind to tell you, unworthy. That's what that boils down to. Unworthy, undesirable. You don't deserve this. And here's a list of 50 top 10 reasons or 50 reasons why you shouldn't have it, and you shouldn't enjoy it, and don't you dare. I want you to absolutely really spend some time trying to understand that because I have taught hundreds of thousands of people over the years. It feels like that at least. I've been well into 100,000 people. Real estate seminars all over the world. Blah 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 blah. It's where Crypto Rich comes from. That's where I met him, is at a real estate thing. We won't get into that. And without a doubt, I see some people, I'd say 10%, that can handle wealth pretty well, but the 90%, they just, I used to live down the street from where the lottery was, and you see these people come in, woohoo, and they leave, their check, and that fucker's going to be broker than he walked through those doors the first time. We all know this. We all hear about how the lottery people end up more broke. They do. It's a fact because they don't understand how to deal with wealth, and this is one of the things. This is part of what you get when you subscribe to me, is me hammering on you how to get your shit straight so that you can handle the money that's about to come to you. You're not going to deal with it quite the way you think you are, most of us. And so somebody has to be there to go, hey, this is how it really, and I will be there. I will be there. I've got a team of people, actually. Rich and Jeff and some of the diamonds will be there. And I've talked to the diamonds. I go, we have to teach these people how to deal with this evil, evil money. because it's going to wreck people. And I don't want a single one of you to leave the experience of the Fibby family worse off than you came. And there's no excuse for it. So what I want to talk about, I have a lot of things I want to talk about. I'll try to hit everything hit or miss here on the way through. But this car represented the very first nice thing that I bought, and so I gave myself permission to spend 64,000 some odd dollars on this car. Now, as you look at this young man, he's got the world in front of him. He's got a beautiful family. He has a gorgeous, gorgeous eight-bedroom mansion with a swimming pool inside, swimming pool outside, basketball court inside. I mean, there's nothing this young man can't do. There's nothing this young man can't do, and he knows it, and you can see it just in the posture. You can't see my face very well, but you can see I'm not worried about a goddamn thing in that picture, and I shouldn't have to be, because I know that I've got this. And so I'm quite at ease with laying $64,000 out for this car. Don't even think twice about it. And so I want you guys to understand that there's going to come a point where you're going to hit a reasonably excessive amount of crypto profit. And at that point in time, you're going to find out who you really are. Are you someone who is afraid of success? Are you someone who runs at success, going, okay, give me more, give me more? Are you fearful? Do you squirrel it away? Are you afraid? The most common thing that I see as people, and my wife was like this, when we lost everything because she never understood how we made it. If you don't fully understand how you made profit in crypto, I just got lucky. The people who get lucky are the people who suffer the most. If you don't understand how you made it and you lose it, you're going to be one of the most fearful people in the world because you don't understand the mechanics of how. So this is why I hammered you the fundamentals of understanding the charts and understanding. Don't lean on me expecting, okay, buy this. Oh man, I got lucky. How to do that? Well, Barron told me to do this. Okay, well, Barron's not going to be around your entire life to tell you what to do next. So you see what I'm telling you? This is what I'm telling you. Don't lean on me. Learn the charts. Learn the things I'm here to teach you, because I don't want you to ever experience the fear of, things kind of go south a little bit, that you can't go, yeah, I got this. I remember, I know how I did this. We can gather our resources and reassemble this and turn this franchise around or whatever. Because one of the worst feelings in the world, and I watch this with real estate people. Sometimes people buy real estate and they get real lucky. They buy at the bottom. I mean, the dead bottom. And they happen to do it in a town that's booming, and they make a shit ton of money. And it's in an upward market. We got real estate people in here. You've all got stories of people that have done this, and they make a ton of money. And then when times get bad, they really don't know whether to shit or wind their watch, as the old saying goes. They don't know how to get back and reboot and do it again, because they don't understand how the money was ever made. They just know that they bought this and sold this, and this check was handed to them, and they really don't understand how they did it. And so they fall into a deep, deep depression. I've watched several people, two or three come to mind, that actually ended up ending their life because they fell into such a deep, dark depression because they just feared that, they'll never be able to do it again. They'll never be able to do it again. And so, crypto, we're going to be hitting a time that's not going to be repeated in our lifetime. So we must accept this. But that doesn't mean that we can't pick up skills that we can transfer to something else. And those of you who know me very well know that, especially Corian, because he listens to me every single day, will tell you. I mean, he was just commenting on it tonight. He goes, I love watching you, because just watching you assemble this stuff, it's so effortless for you. Yes, it is, because I've been doing it for 40 some years. And I take it from different disciplines. And you guys should all embrace doing different things as well as crypto too. We'll talk about that later on. But when you experience your first reasonably real gain, there's going to be a shift in your mentality. Do you go into scarcity mode? Go, oh God, I got this. I can't spend any of it. I'm afraid. And then and so if I were to suggest to you, go buy yourself something nice, you ain't going to do it because you don't know how you got it in the first place, or you don't understand. You think you have this unworthiness to you, or this fear or this scarcity mindset to you, where I know you guys have watched me. This is why lately I've been quite flagrant about showing you the excessive amount of money that I spend, like on the Pepe trades for $800,000 I was doing. I have to show you this stuff. I'm not fronting, and I'm not flexing. You got to see this stuff, because until you see it, I'm just a guy telling you it's possible. You saw it. You can go back. It's still on YouTube. You can go back and watch it with your own eyes. It happened. You watched it. And so if I can do that, and you all know what I came back to this country with, nothing. And you watch me do an 800 and I think it was $863,000 trade several times, 5 times in a row, boom, 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 making profit. Um, you're seeing it. I don't want to show you that stuff because I believe that I got to kind of watch it publicly because I don't want to flag myself and have a bunch of people on my door trying to borrow money from me and shit like that. But you guys, perfectly fine. I don't mind showing you that stuff and telling you what I'm spending and stuff because you need to get comfortable with the fact. And there's a dude in here right now that calls me up and says, "Hey, I got $600,000. What do I spend it on?" As if he just got his McDonald's money and he can't figure out whether he wants to buy 2 or 3 XRP with it. And it ain't no big thing to him. I got another person in here that's a billionaire, and it's not my buddy Steve, that doesn't understand, and he knows this, and I'm not telling tales to school. He doesn't understand how to invest, where to invest, whatever. He got lucky. He fell ass backwards into multiple billions of dollars, and he's got a mindset where it's going to take a while to lose it all, but he knows he really doesn't understand how he got it, and so once in a while I have to kind of square up with them and just say, listen, you're going to have to start getting your shit together because you may think several billion dollars is hard to ever run out before the end of your life. I assure you, you can do it. And so anyway, I'm kind of getting off the track. What I wanted to tell you is this. Um, I started with the car, and so this car to me is tremendously sentimental for a lot of reasons because it's the start of our journey. It's the start of my journey of the last 25 years, 24, 25 years. And the interesting thing is this car brought back a flood of memories. I haven't sat in a Plymouth Prowler or a Chrysler Prowler for 24 years since the day they hauled this away on a flatbed stretcher. The bank repossessed it after it got crushed by the Humvee H1. It was one of the saddest days of my life. Everything just went downhill after that. I lost my house, lost everything. The whole 9/11 thing happened. It was bad. It was just really bad. And so during the good times, this car was always around, and so it's an anchor. That's the term we use in hypnosis. It's an anchor. So this to me is an anchor, and by that I mean when I sit in this car and I feel the thickness of the steering wheel and smell that very familiar smell of Chrysler synthetic leather and just the gasoline and the vibration from the Borla mufflers and just the overall way the car feels and handles and stuff like that. It's embedded in my very DNA because I spent so much time. I was so proud of this car, and this car was always with me everywhere I did real estate deals. It was the car that showed up when the Prowler showed up. Man, we were going to do some deals. That I got known that when there was a group of real estate investors that used to hang together. I was part of them. They all knew, we're not all here because the Prowler's not here. Until the Prowler's here, we're not all here. And I'd always show up late so I could make an entrance. So and but it's a very special car because there's a lot of things, and so I'm in it signifies the start of a change of my life. Let's just leave it at that. Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you the funny story, and then I'm going to come back to the revelation of the red car and what that means. So let's go fast forward back to this. Okay, so I have a buddy that owns a Ford dealership, and he's in Missouri, and his name is Tom, and it's a Ford dealership. Okay, and so for those of you that are new that don't really know a lot of my history, I try not to repeat it too much, but you got to know who I am to really understand these stupid stories. So I have 3 masters in engineering. I have been around, 1/3 of my life was dedicated, the first 20 some years of my life was dedicated to be an automotive engineer. On my graduation day, GM canned 45,000 workers, and I found myself without a career. So 1/3, it just damn near ended in suicide and a whole bunch of other stuff. And then thank God, through the grace of God or whatever, I was spared from doing the inevitable, and my life kind of started to take a very very weird and wonderful change. And so from adversity comes challenge, and from challenge comes growth, and from growth comes prosperity. And so uh, my buddy who works here, he's known me for pretty much most of my life, and so he saw my post about going to get the Viper and not fitting in the Viper. I was pouting on Facebook. He goes, "Well, why don't you come buy this? I know you fit in this." And I go, "What is it?" He goes, "The Prowler." I go, "Oh Jesus." And I go, "What color is it?" He goes, "It's red." I go, "I don't want a red one. I want a Mulholland blue." He goes, "You don't need one. You just get this." He goes, "For the love of God, come and take this thing off my." He goes, "I'll give you a good deal. For the love of God, come." His exact words are, "For the love of God, get this thing off my showroom floor." So I knew there was something to this. I knew there was definitely a need. Now, so car dealers, I used to be a car dealer. I sold Mercedes Benz and BMW and Jaguar and all those shit things. Um, so if a used car, and this is a used car, if a used car or any car sits on a lot for longer than 90 days, it becomes a turd and it becomes a liability for floor planning and stuff like that. And they just don't like it. It's just not good. And so they start cutting some supremely good deals at day 89 because they don't want to go into 90 days and go into costs of carrying, time value of money, basically. So I knew several other things that got leaked to me because talking to several other people, once I got there, I knew what was going on. So I was on my way down there. I said, "So what do you want for it?" He goes, "Well, I want 40. I think I was 46." And I ain't giving you whatever. And we got down to high 38s. I said, "I just I don't need it that bad, Tom. I'm buying a T-Bird." And he goes, "Well, you got money extra. Go buy this. I'll cut you a deal. Well, 35. And he kept coming down and down and down. I said, "I'll tell you what, Tom. I'll give you 30." And he goes, "Oh, I ain't taking 30." He goes, "This thing's worth more. You know that." I go, "Well, it's apparently not because no one's buying it." And candidly, I can't. This is another thing. Like I said earlier, this is a red convertible in a dealership room of a. It's a classic car. How is this not sold at the first part of summer for 30,000 or 35 or pick whatever variation? How is this not sold? Is this not telling of exactly what I said was coming? I told you this was coming. I said it's going to get bad, and we're already seeing it. I've been buying and selling cars. I was 6 months to a year ahead of this particular situation. I knew it was coming because I was in the market seeing and predicting it all along. And it's hitting showrooms. So I chatted up a lot of the dealers, just to kind of keep my finger in the market. How's it doing? Oh, it's not doing that great. Sales are down, but shocking. Wait till you see what happens after July 15th. And so we'll get to that here in just a minute. So so anyway, I talking to several dealers. I ended up, if I didn't say this, I remade this video. So how this thing came to be on the showroom floor was apparently some dude came in and said, "Hey, I want to sell my, will you guys buy this?" And apparently somebody with a checkbook, power of the checkbook, wrote a $30,000 check for this thing. They wrote it for 30,000. I offered 30. That's why he didn't want to take it because they didn't want to break even. So they wanted to show a profit, and so anyway, they wrote a $30,000 check to whomever owned this, and they just trotted off or whatever. So it wasn't even a trade-in for a new car; it was just an outright sale, just like selling your car to CarMax. And most people don't know you can do that. And so anyway, somebody thought it would be cool to have a Prowler sitting on the showroom floor of a Ford dealership. And so let me explain why that's not a wise idea. Because they're just dealerships. Here's what I know from years and years and years of being around automotive everything is these are franchises. Dealerships are franchises. They're not an extension of Ford. They are a wholly owned business that gets signage. They're kind of like here would be a good example. They're a McDonald's. Okay, McDonald's is McDonald's. The guy who owns the McDonald's on your street corner is not McDonald's. That's a guy that gets signs, pays fees, has a dealership cost, yada yada. Okay, so picture this as McDonald's. Now, imagine if imagine if this is McDonald's and somebody went and slapped a big old Wendy's Frosty right in the middle of the showroom. What do you think the McDonald's reps would think of that if they came in and found somebody who was selling or suggesting that they were selling Wendy's Frosties out of a McDonald's? They would be none too happy, and they would probably yank their dealership license. Correct? Their franchise license. Okay, that is all you really need to understand about the magnitude of what you're looking at here on this showroom floor. So as it turns out, because the universe just loves me, I he called me with a sense of urgency. he called me. I didn't call him. And he said, "Hey, you need to come buy this. And can you get here on Friday?" No, no, no. I got stuff. Or can you get here on Thursday? I said, "No, no, no. I got stuff going on. I can come on Friday." Oh, well, what time can you get here on Friday? Can you get here early? Because I got an appointment. Blah blah blah. He was very urgent that he didn't want this to trickle into Saturday. Well, I got there, started asking questions, showed up. I brought my friend Mike with me, and Mike just loves to come with me when I chastise car dealers and I buy cars because he knows how I negotiate. And he goes, it's just hilarious to watch you you know, deal with people because you just you act like you don't know anything or you don't think anything, and the next thing you know, they're coming down on the price. He goes, it's just a thing of beauty to watch, is what he said. And again, I really love it when you do it to car dealers. And so he goes, I said, you want to go with me? He goes, oh, hell yeah, I wouldn't miss this for the world. And so, because he already knows the Prowler story too, he goes, oh, I'd love to see you, kind of put an end cap on your story from how, the bad times and whatever. And so he co-drive my truck or co-drove my truck with me up there to get it. And so we get up there, and he's in the showroom with me, and we're both just wearing shorts. And I've got a DeWalt tool bag full of $65,000 because I've actually got another car. I'm going to buy a T-Bird here. I'm going to buy tomorrow. I'm tripping off. Whoop, that's trade sniper stuff. Tomorrow I'm tripping off to go get that beautiful thing. So anyway, um, he's with me, and I've got this DeWalt bag full of cash, and I look like I'm there to service the air conditioner more than anything. And so, um, he goes, so Tom's talking to me, and he goes, well, let me go get Mike, and he's our top salesman. And I said, I don't need to talk to Mike, and he goes, well, I'll get you a salesman. Let's get Mike. I said, no, who's your dealer? Now, I told you I was going to teach you something about stopping and slowing down to consider every little thing in your life. You people that want to do something charitable, watch this. I do this a lot. And so, because I worked in a dealership, um, there's a pecking order to it. There's your super salesman. There's a guy that basically he's got a client list. He's got people who have bought 10 cars from him. He don't need to work that hard. He's primed the pump, where all he's got to do is just show up for work, and there's always someone to buy a car from him. And success breeds success. He's known as a closer. You've heard that term. And so Mike gets just de facto, oh, you can go talk to Mike. Mike will get you taken care of. Well, I don't want to deal with Mike. I want to deal with somebody else. In fact, I want to deal with the guy who has the least sales. Okay, why do I want to do that? Because he needs my help. Now, think about this for just a second. I don't need to be sold anything. I'm coming there with cash in a DeWalt bag. I could buy this from a fence post if they can do the paperwork. You know what I'm saying? I don't need anyone. Why do I need to give Mike more money? Somebody needs that money worse than I do. The money's going to get spent anyway, so it's no skin off my nose. Doesn't bother the dealership. Why not give it to someone who can use it? See, this is an example. It's just a little example of how you run your life a little bit differently. And not again, it's not a thing where I'm suggesting that I'm better than anyone else. I'm just stopping and slowing down and thinking about the things that you do, the little things that you do, and the butterfly effects that they have. And I'm going to show you how this worked out because it's kind of a cute story. I just want to going to end up being one of my more favorite stories. I probably won't tell it very well in the first round until I kind of assess everything, but I'll kind of tell you the highlights of it. So I said to Tom, I said, you know what? Who's doing the worst? And he looked at me and he was like, I don't know. It's Stu. Stu's been here for 6 months, and he doesn't have that many sales on the board. I said, let me talk to Stu. Stu's a super sweetheart guy. Southern, just a Southern guy, 43 years old, wife, 2 kids, lives 3 blocks down from the dealership. Trying his damnedest, just can't pull it together. Whatever. He just doesn't have that killer sales instinct. He's a nice guy, but you can't nice guy your way to car sales. It just doesn't work. But anyway, I said, let me deal with Stu. So Stu came over, introduced himself. We hit it off. We just talked about cars, and went for a test drive. And so here's where I got to part and loop again here. So getting back to the very beginning of this, sorry. All right, so this is the dealership. Now, it's about a city block long. You got your used dealership here. You got your new dealership here, your quick lube here. This car was not outside in this. is outside for a reason. So anyway, I got to talk. When I first showed up with Mike, Tom disappeared for a little bit, and I started talking to the dealers. And I was doing intel work, and Mike's like, I knew you were working those dealers for a reason because you were trying to find out how you can negotiate a lower price. And so they were just spilling their guts. I said, why? What's going on with the car? They're just, yada yada yada, just office gossip, whatever. Oh yeah, it's been sitting here, and it's like, and and he goes, and Tom just fucking hates this thing, and he doesn't. Again, I'm telling you why, because he doesn't want a Wendy's Frosty sitting on the showroom floor of his McDonald's franchise. I can respect that, because if the Ford people came in, what the hell, man? He'd be in all kinds of trouble. Well, as it turns out, the reason why Tom called me to buy, hopefully Friday morning and no later, is because Ford executives were coming in for dealership inspection on Friday afternoon. And we arrived on the far end of the lot down here in the truck. And when we pulled in looking for this because it was inside. I was like, well, maybe it's in the used thing. Couldn't find. Now, why wasn't this parked in the used car? Because there's no showroom floor here. They're all office space. There's no place to park. So the only place they could park this is in the new dealership. So you see where the problem starts and why, you can't park this thing out on the lot all night and get rained and hailed on. It would just be fucked up. So it's got to be inside. It just does. And so we no sooner park like right here than an SUV, a Ford Escalade SUV, pulls in next to us. Four guys in suits, executive types. Get out. I'm like, immediately my mind is like, there's your boys, because I already knew what was going on. I said, so let me back up. So when I was there with Mike ahead of the executives. This is when we came back from. I'll circle back to that here in just a second. So we got there ahead of the executives, and we were kicking it around. I was getting him knocked down. I got him down to like 35, then I got him down to 33. I'm like, he's like, oh come on, it's worth 33. I'm like, is it really? I mean, it's a red car convertible. It's 24 years old. It's been sitting on a professional dealership lot. Nobody's buying it. Can't give it away. Can't buy a buyer. I go, is it? Is it really? And I was just chipping away at him. He's like, you ornery bastard. So I say, I don't know, Tom. I 30, maybe 30. Is 30 worth it? And I always ask the question, is 30 worth it? And he's like, oh, no, come on, you can do better than that. I know you can do better than that. So I said, I look at Mike. I go, you hungry? And Mike just looks at me because he knows that question's a loaded question. He's like, yes. He's like, yeah. I go, you want to go to Arby's? And I go, yeah. I said, Tom, we're gonna go to Arby's, and we'll be back later probably. We're gonna go to Arby's and get something to eat. We had a long drive in, so we left. We went to Arby's and we came back, and we came back here and we parked over here, and so now four guys in the Escalades are getting out, and I had already done the intel and realized they're coming in, so I'm like, those are our boys, and I'm like, oh shit, because. So now what you have to realize is those guys are walking the property looking for infractions, and they're checking out, how Tom's repping the Ford name, and they're starting at the used car lot on that end, and they're working their way towards this place, and they're going to see a big old Wendy's Frosty sitting right in the middle of the McDonald's showroom, and they're not going to be too happy. And so when, and so when we went to Arby's, we came back and this thing's pushed out outside running. It's running because they want to give it the look of somebody who just backed in there. Oh, it's not really for sale. It's just here, and oh, don't pay no attention to the red Plymouth parked in the Ford showroom. This is running. This is somebody's car. He was doing his damnedest to make this not look like it was for sale, out of the showroom. So anyway, we're standing around outside of this, and Tom comes back out with Stu, and and we just continue. And I could see these guys. They're walking back and forth, back and forth. I said, I don't know, Tom. I'm thinking 18. He's like, I'm not going to sell you this for 18. I said, come on, what, really, honestly, why? I don't need it. I'm like, look, I got all these other cars. I got 47 cars. Why do I need 48? I'm down here just because I just want to go for a drive in my truck, hang out with my buddy Mike, come see you, whatever. And I'll give you 18. Come on. And I know you didn't pay that much. Well, they did. They paid 30. And so he's like, oh, I can't do that. So I said, well, he goes, you need to take it for a drive. He was trying to get me off the lot. And he goes, you need to take Stu, take it for a drive. So these guys are working their way sequentially closer and closer and closer. And they're like standing like right about right here right now. So Tom goes, Stu, why don't you guys go for a test ride? Because he was trying to get this thing to fuck off the lot. And so we go off down this road, and it's just, to get back to the Prowler thing, it was a time capsule, guys. I haven't been behind the wheel of a Prowler for 24 years, and I'll tell you what, the feel of the leather, the growl of the motor, and it's just like I was that 24 or 25-year-old young man all over again. And I caught myself closing my eyes as I was driving because it was just instant transportation back to a time when everything was starting. It was literally just like driving through a time warp. So kind of almost damn near an out of body experience if I'm being honest. And so we did our little test drive, drove past Stu's house. Stu's telling me about his life. I'm getting along really well with Stu. So Tom's got a 56 Thunderbird too, and he takes me over to show me that stuff like that. We come back, pull into the driveway. Now these guys are milling around the showroom. So now I come back. I go, I don't know, Tom, it's pretty good, but 20, I see 20 in this. And so every once in a while I would make reference to, well, you're probably another buyer. I mean, these guys in suits look like they got money. Why don't you sell them a And I said this loud enough they could hear it. I go, why don't you sell this thing to these guys? They look like they probably like a Prowler. And he looked at me like, he son of a bitch. so and so the jump ahead of that, I won't belabor all the chastisement that I did. I mean, I was just needling him. He was just absolutely just the flop sweat was just terrible. But I got him down to $29,000. So I literally, you guys should be pretty proud of me. I literally made a car dealer lose $1,000 on a car purchase, on a car sale. And so I rolled out of there. And so basically, it's going to be delivered. So I ended up giving him $29,000 cash plus $300 to deliver it back to Chase's house. And so that was pretty much that. He goes, "Yeah, nice doing business with you. Whatever. Come again anytime." And so I got that. So that's part of it. So Stu is what I want to talk about. So during our time with Stu, I said, I want the guy who's doing the poorest. And so Stu had some time when I was away and I was back and stuff like that. And Tom had told him that I asked for somebody who needed a little help. He goes, in deep Southern accent, super sweetheart guy. He just goes, I just want to thank you, man. He goes, not too many people would do anything like that. He goes, and I just really need the help. And he goes, and it's not like I make an awful lot of money on this thing. They're only giving $150 commission. I go, what? They're only giving you $150 commission on this. And I'm like, realistically, any of these cars on the lot should be about 450 to 750 car dealer. Um, depends on what you're selling. They only give me $150. He goes, yeah, that's all. And he goes, and they're not even giving you a spiff. Well, a spiff is basically like it's like a bounty. So this would be a classic example of a spiff because if something sits on a lot for too long, my sales manager Jeff Batani used to do this all the time. He'd be like, all right, I want this damn XYZ car. I want this thing gone by Thursday. If anyone can sell it, I'll give you double your commission. That's a spiff, So or I'll give you an extra $500 or a trip to Hawaii. There's some pretty weird things that happen in car dealerships for spiffs. It's not always cash. It could be like, give you a week off with pay. It's whatever the sales manager wants to do. I mean, he can do it. He can give you a set of steak knives or whatever he wants to do. Most of the time, it's just like a bounty. It's like a dollar bounty. But he was only making $150, and so as we were driving around, he was not bleeding heart to me or anything like that. He was just telling me about his life, and I'm just listening. You know how I am. Some of you guys who know me fairly well, and I've talked to you about your personal lives and stuff, you know how I am. I get in and I dig around in your life to find out what's broken that I can maybe help fix. That's how I'm wired. I like to do this. I find great satisfaction in doing it because if there's something I can share with you, it's free. It kills time. I get to know you. You get to maybe pick up something from someone who's been down the road a little further than you. It's worth my time to do that, and I get great satisfaction out of doing it, and I do it often. And so Stu's telling me all about this, tells me, and he didn't, it was just some matter of fact that he said, yeah, he's only paying 150 on that. And he was just off on the conversation. He wasn't dwelling on it. And I said, no spiff. He goes, no, they don't. Because I would have thought there would have been spiff, but no. And I said, oh. So then we get into the conversation later. He talks about it's his wife's birthday and their anniversary's coming up, stuff like that. And so we start talking about the car dealership or about the future of the car business. I says, how long have you been a car dealer? And he goes, about 6 years. I go, well, must have done pretty well to be in six. He goes, well, it's like, I do just well enough to do it, but it's never been, I'm always a day late and a dollar short. I'm like, yeah, that's unfortunate. And I said, and you know where I went with this? I took it straight to the end result. I said, you don't know me from well, but trust me when I tell you, I am in a position in this life and in my life experiences to tell you exactly what your future is in a multitude of ways. And so I will tell you what is going to happen to this dealership inside of 10 years. It will cease to be. I said inside of probably 5 years, your career as a car dealer at this dealership will cease to be. And I told him how, I went to school as an automotive engineer, and they laid it out day one, what car dealerships are going to be like. They're not. They're going to be kiosks in the mall because malls were a thing back then. The internet didn't exist. And GM basically, what we're seeing with Tesla right now, GM invented the system. They want to get rid of these dealers. These dealers are a pain in the ass to them because they're at their extra expense. They got to babysit them. They got to send executives out to make sure they're repping the name right. There's just too much. It's easier just to sell it straight out of the factory for a higher profit and not cut these guys in. True? True. And isn't that what Tesla's doing? They're selling on the internet. There's a few places you can go to experience Teslas and whatever, but by and large, they don't have showrooms. They're not showroom driven. You order, you spec them out on the online. That's exactly what GM had envisioned back in the day of thinking it was going to be a kiosk at a mall instead, but it's effectively the same end result. No middleman dealership. And I told him this. I said, so, and just immediately transitioned to, you go, do you have a plan B? He goes, I don't have a plan B. I said, you need to have a plan B. And so we just started talking, and he was really riveted to what I had to say. And I started to kind of hip him to what's about to happen here. And around about, I don't mean like on the day, but around about the middle of summer, I said you're going to start to see a very profound shift in America, and certainly in the car dealerships' ability to sell cars. And so he's like, I've been expecting this to come. He goes, and you just confirmed what I've kind of believed, whatever. And so we had probably a 35-40 minute conversation, and and so he's like, this is like one of the most enlightening days I've had at this dealership. And I said, well, happy to provide that. And so he goes, and thank you for the 150. And I said, no spiff, huh? And he goes, what? I said, no spiff. He goes, he's not going to give you a spiff for this. And I go, I beat him up pretty bad. And I go, he probably doesn't have enough money for the spiff, so let me tell you what, I'm going to give you a spiff. So I said, you take this. I reached into my DeWalt bag and I pulled out $2,000 and I gave it to him. And I tell you that not to tell you what a great guy or how rich I am or anything like that. I have the ability to do it. I can do that. And I will never miss that $2,000. It will never be thought of again. After this story, it will never be thought of again. But $2,000 to me, it's cool. 2,000 to him is life changing. It's month changing. It puts him over the hump. It gives him a little pep in his step. The rest of his day was magnificent. The rest of his week, he'll be talking about that for months. And it might have given him a little hope because the story that I told him about how his life is about to change, powered by $2,000, tells him that this dude knows what the fuck he's talking about. Listen to this guy. Take his advice. Do something with this experience that you just had. To me, that's priceless. I can replace that $2,000 just like that. It's not that hard. I don't miss it. So getting back to you guys, so let's dissect this story a little bit. Not the funny part, but the human side of this. Uh, could you have done any of this? Yeah, you probably could have given him a couple $100, something like that. But could you have picked the low man on the totem pole? Because you're going to buy the car anyway in this particular situation. You find yourself in a car dealership. Ask for the guy who's doing the worst. You have that right as a consumer. I want to deal with this guy, or who needs the most help? Who's the new guy? It costs you nothing because it's coming out of the dealer's pocket anyway. But the spiff thing, I just thought that was the right and decent thing to do, because the guy, candidly, this is just talking shop. So looking at this car where it sits right now outside, he did what's called the dealer's presentation, and it was a thing of beauty. I mean, the guy knew his craft, and I have tremendous respect for people that know their craft. You hear me use that phrase a lot, but let me illustrate what I'm talking about. When you're a car dealer, you are taught, or you should be taught, if you've got a decent sales manager, you should be taught to open up the hood, open up the trunk, open up the doors, talk about, show everything, air it out is the term they use. Air it out, open everything. Don't leave anything like I could tell you there has literally been car dealers that have taken me on test drives and stuff like that, never even bothered to open the engine bay and show me what the fuck's under the hood. I'm like, and you expect me to buy a car and you're not even talking about, but Stu did everything, just straight out of the dealer's manual, like it was secondhand. He wasn't struggling, he wasn't desperate, he wasn't pointing out, he wasn't sweaty, he was evenly paced. Perfect, and deserving of that $2,000 spiff. And so, not to take anything away from Tom because he's got to run a business, but if somebody should reward that, and so that somebody was me because I have the ability to do that. And I said, just candidly to tell you this, Stu, and I left that man in tears because he goes, you don't understand, you didn't have to do that. I said, no, I didn't have to do that. I wanted to do that because the stories that he told me, he's got an anniversary coming up, and he don't have a paycheck to be able to take her out to steak dinner or do whatever. Now he does. That's fun for me, guys. It's fun. It's fun. I know you guys see this stuff, and you'd be like, I want to make a bunch of money so I could do that. You can also do that thing before. Get the low man on the totem pole. Start with that, because when you become the type of person that naturally asks for the low man on the totem pole, the $2,000 thing is just an extension for that. But if you go into, I can give you a 10,000 examples. You've heard me talk about this stuff before. Not to kind of get off on a great things that I do. You're at a gas station. I was at a gas station one night at Casey's. There was a Vietnam vet that was sleeping in his car. He was trapped from Chicago, and I was filling up gas. This is 12 o'clock at night down on 63rd Street. And he leans over me just randomly and he says, hey, you got a couple bucks. I'm trapped. I can't get back to, I was living in his car, obviously. I said, come with me, man. And I took him into Casey's. I was doing my midnight Diet Pepsi run. I bought him a $100 gift card. And there was a ton of people in Casey's that night that saw that. It was $100. It's $100. But to that guy, that was his ability to have some food. Because as I come to find out later, he hadn't ate for 2 days and some gas to get further down the road. I don't know how far he can get home to Chicago or where he's from here, but it gave him a fighting shot. What does that $100 mean to me? Nothing. But that story lives in my heart. I did something really cool for someone, and I helped them. And at the end of the day, that's what we're here to do, is to help each other. And so, can you do that? Yeah, you could do that. And I don't mean just hand out, if somebody holds their hand out, say, here, can you have some money? And you give it, do something nice. I went the extra mile. Buy the gift card. Say, here, I know you have need. I can sense, I can see you have need. Let me truly help you. Let me truly help you. Let me lift you up and get you, a better position as the person that sells me this car, or a couple gift cards to like maybe straighten you out. Maybe let me give you some food out of my reserve or something like that, because I see you got little kids and they look like they really haven't had a decent meal for the night. There's so many things, guys. Don't wait to get rich in crypto. Don't wait. You can do this stuff now. And I'll tell you, the more you practice doing this stuff now, the greater you're going to be when you're wealthy. You'll do the right thing naturally, but you have to build that skill of being a decent person when you have nothing, because who you are now will be magnified so much more later on when you get the wealth. So I want you to be tuned up and dialed in before you get it. Okay, so that's basically the story for tonight.